So I reckon that's a pretty good $5 prize. Yeah, so it was very good.
$5. Yeah, I bought $5 with tickets. Yeah, I did dump all of them except one in prize, but still $4. Yeah.
The raffle prizes.
That was probably the best raffle prizes. All the others were okay, but that was the best one. Anyway, a few reminders. In July we've got the AGM. Please don't stay away because it's not the whole meeting. It will take about 10 minutes to get through it. But if you would like to help shape the future of this club, I encourage you to think about getting onto the committee. Our constitution says that the key office holders, and that is the president, the vice president, the treasurer, and the secretary, have to resign and be re-elected. So if you want to be one of those jobs, one of those positions, you've got to get a nomination form and get elected. But you can join the committee without being elected. You can simply indicate interest and come and join. And there's lots of good jobs for as many people as want to join. So I'm putting in a bit of a plug there. Next month we have a presentation by Evan Marsh. Evan is a very good demonstrator, and I'm looking forward to hearing about it. I can't remember. Ty, what's the topic? I forget.
Junipers and conifers.
Junipers and conifers or something like that. It'll be in the newsletter, so if you really want to know the topic, it'll be good whatever it is. The basic bonsai class, we've just done repotting and done a demo. Next time, all of the participants in the class will do a repot. If they've never done one before, it'll be quite exciting. But I can tell you, if you've never done one before, the first one it's not too bad. But I mentioned it only in that if anybody else in the club wants to come along and repot a tree, please join in. In summer when we got this room, I thought, oh, that's good, we'll be able to do it outside, but at this time of year you can't. In August, we have the Yamadori dig at Brian Silver's property. I have another meeting. At the next meeting, I'll get a firm indication of who's going. And I think I said last time it'll be a Yamadori dig and a picnic. So you can bring your picnic lunch and your family if you're so inclined, or whatever. It should be good.
What area?
Sorry?
What area?
Mount Wilson. It's on Sunday the 3rd of August. In August we also have Clinton Neskin doing a demo of the meeting, because the Yamadori digs the week before the meeting. In the meeting we've got Clinton Neskin. Now for those of you who were around last year, I thought you did a superb demonstration of root over rock. We were at the Petersham RSL when we did it. This year he's coming. He was at the Bonsai for Harbour too. And in fact, Ray Nesky was there as well. Ray did a superb presentation. For those of you who know, he hasn't been terribly well the last few years, and his age has started to show. But he had about 20 of his, bit more, probably like 40 of his personal trees, which he brought along, and said a few words on each tree. Some of them were over 50 years old, that was really interesting. And I took lots of photos. If you are interested, I'll put them up. I think I already have put them up on the Facebook page. I should mention this because some people I don't think know. We have two Facebook pages. One is called the Sydney City Bonsai Club Team Room, and that is only accessible to people who are allowed on. If you're not on it, you want to get on it, you have to send me an email in Facebook or a message in Facebook, and I can put you on. That's so that the general public doesn't see what's going on. But there is another one, also called the Sydney City Bonsai Club, which is an open one where we can put announcements and things that everybody can see. So I just point that out because I think some people think that they're on the team one when they're only looking at the other one. In September, Lee is going to do a presentation on spine, Is that correct?
Only said those pots. Narrow pots to trees.
What about the rest of us?
And I'm happy we had 5 or 6, I bought 8 trees home from
I
Canberra.
know, that's why I thought we were going to do stuff. Where's Ollie? Do we want to take a vote? All those who would like to hear Lee talk on pots, put your hand up. That's everybody. All those who'd like to hear Lee do a talk on styling, put your hand up. I think the hands up.
Same night?
Do both.
Start on the day.
Both.
We've got to be out of here by 9, that's all.
There's small trees.
All right. Anybody ever suggest we take a vote on things again? And then in October, we've got the sales night, which we had last year, and I think it was very successful. We hear more about that before October. And we've also got Scott Martin doing the special weekend workshops. And again, we'll go through more of the details closer to the date. We've got still more pots and tools from donations over on the table, and I can see a few trees. The next meeting is July 8th, and I've already said it's the AGM, but don't let that keep you away. Make sure you've signed the attendance book so that you're in for the draw. Tonight's agenda, the display trees are literati, slanting, and windswept. Is that correct? Is that all? And now, are you doing critique? Yeah. Lee has kindly, did you tell Chris? Lee has kindly agreed to do the critique. Now, I have to tell you, at Bonsai on the Harbour, there were about a dozen trees that people had put on display specifically to be critiqued. And Tony Betts and who was the other guy? One other guy did a joint critique of all the trees. And they started off by saying, a critique is not a criticism. So don't be concerned. But the trees were all put in by the best bonsai growers in Sydney. And they did what I thought was excellent critiques for very advanced trees. So I'm saying that in that, don't be too concerned, because we are not going to criticise trees, we're going to give them critiques, which is all around what would somebody do differently or in the future with your tree that you may not have thought of. So that's the display trees. Ollie, you want to introduce the Trident Maples charts?
Am I doing a talk on winter? Am I doing a talk on winter?
Yeah, well, I haven't finished yet. I'm just saying, do you want to introduce the Trident Maple planting?
I'll be at some point in the session. I'll run a session for everyone that wants to join. So $20 a head. You get 10 plants, soil, everything, and I'll show you how to do it. I'll show you what it looks like a year later as well.
So you're going to mine them in the meantime?
Sorry.
Yeah,
I've already. Sorry, what was that?
You need to mine the trees.
It's just a sweatshop that we have to pay
I
to
think
be
everybody
going.
that's here was here last time, so I reckon it's got to be the best $20 if you're ever going to spend to get Trident Maples.
10 seedlings for 20 bucks is good in itself.
Ollie is also going to do a talk on winter. Now, I've said before, we don't get winter in Sydney. If anybody's ever lived in the Northern Hemisphere, you know what winter is. If you live in Canberra, you've got a bit of an idea. We don't get winter here, but Ollie is the closest to anybody that has winter, because he's moved recently to Barrow.
The last couple of days was winter.
That's within 1,000 kilometres of winter. What's that?
The last couple of days was winter.
Oh, you don't know what winter is.
The man was.
I lived in the Northern Hemisphere for 2 years, and I've been there. We arrived in winter, and some friends said to me, "Have you done all of the stuff you're supposed to do?" And I said, "Well, what do you do?" They said, Have you put antifreeze in your car?" And I said, "Oh, I don't know. Have you turned the outside taps off in the yard? You turn all the outside taps off inside, but open them up, because if you don't, they will have the pipes will freeze. You don't have those problems in Sydney. This is a civilised. So I'm interested to hear what Ollie's going to tell us. And after that is it's just workshop time, and because we did one demonstration in the class of repotting, but Brian is going to do a second one for the class or anybody else that wants to come along and have a look. Okay? So there you go. Ollie, over here, you can do the winter presentation and then
You want to do the critique?
well,
Then
when would you like to do the critique? At the beginning or the end?
Whatever you want.
Well, what about after Ollie's talk on winter? Okay.
We're joining membership phase in June.
End of June. So,
Next month? Next meeting?
yeah, well, before next week, because they'll be on the 30th of June,
Is it today?
which is 2 or 3 weeks'
Is that
time.
today?
Yeah.
you can pre-create
It could be 6 months over June, maybe you send that like this.
Oh, yes.
Pay attention.
That's a good point. If you want to vote at AGM, you have to be a financial member. So you've got to pay your fees before the 8th of July. Thank you.
Right. I guess I've only lived in Australia for about 10 years. I was born here in '96, and then grew over to New Zealand and lived there most of my life. So grew up in a bit of a cool climate in the Sydney humidity. When I first moved here, it was 40 degrees for a month straight, and I showered 4 times a day. Has anyone here actually seen snow in Sydney? I'm not talking Blue Mountains, I'm talking Sydney itself.
In Sydney.
Petersham?
It's
Yeah.
snowed for us.
Do you remember what year that was?
About probably 18 to 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And it
That's
didn't,
Yeah, you're right.
It's stuck to the rocks.
Yeah.
But it melted quickly.
Fantastic. Yeah. So, any other times anyone can remember? Not really. So,
I've seen frost, but not snow.
Yeah. So you might have seen the frost, the experience freezing over. Yeah, some sleet. Yeah. Yeah. No, sleet that we have.
For breakfast, you used to go punch.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's time, please,
Yeah. Yeah. Especially.
Fun off quick.
Fun. Yeah, so I guess Sydney's climate is not really, you're not sort of getting worried with your trees, you're not hiding because there's going to be big snowfalls and they're going to weigh down the branch and break them off. The Canadians, the Americans, they deal with colder climates than we do, so fortunately for most people in Australia, unless you're doing a huge amount of repotting, which is sort of that breath of fresh air, it's not summer, you're not spending, you're not watering your trees 3 times a day, you actually get to maybe enjoy a silhouette or even just enjoy not doing bonsai sometimes for a month or 2. I know at the moment my trees are only getting watered when it's really windy. They're not really photosynthesizing. It might be the sun for 6 hours and the soil doesn't change in moisture. So I think at the moment the best thing you can do is, and I put this in the newsletter, is plan for spring, because spring sort of comes at you in a flash and usually you can have a lot of work to do. If you're scrambling to find soils and pots, it means there's other people. Usually places like Enfield will sell out, so I recommend getting that organised in advance. For myself, I live in the Highlands now, which I've worked out is a bit more like New Zealand, pretty cold. So I'm letting John look up top of my figs. So people in the Highlands, if you're in the Blue Mountains, even up in the Drill area, be conscious of your figs. They don't survive below 3 degrees, and if they frost, they'll usually. I've heard what happens. They basically turn to mush in the freezing temperatures. So look out for that. The number one thing you can do right now, if you've got a lot of leaves falling on everything, is just clear it off the trees. You don't want, one leaf could have fungal disease in it, and then it's going to come out in the spring as well. So just try and clear those off the pots. Do a bit of weeding while there's not prolific weeds growing everywhere. Weeds always grow, but they sort of slow down a little bit this time of year. This is a great time as well to do any sort of fungal management of your benches as well. And you can also do lime sulfur sprays for your trees to try and protect the actual root ball. But a lot of people forget actually their benches have a lot of fungal diseases just sitting on them. So take trees off, do a lime sulfur spray, wash down your benches, clean that off, and just do general maintenance outside of your bonsai. I don't know about you guys, but I often find that my attention will go to my trees and the rest of the garden, so I can go a little bit amiss. In terms of tree moisture, this is probably the hardest time of the year to actually water your trees, depending on your soil composition. But a lot of people will usually overwater, and you can usually end up with a lot of root rot. So things like bankseas can really struggle if you overwater them. A lot of your deciduous trees, which aren't photosynthesizing at all, just be really careful. But at the same time, you don't want your roots to completely dry out and be devoid of moisture. Sort of a healthy balance, and you can learn through a bit of trial and error. What else? The other one is if you aren't getting good aeration through your soil, get a skewer or a chopstick and aerate your soil. So you don't have to be too aggressive on your roots, but you can just sort of wiggle around and get rid of breathing room. And I know some people will often put their pots up on one side, so you put like a little piece of wood on one side, then switch it over next week, just so you've got a little bit of gravity moving it through the pot. Anything else? Any other tips and tricks from anyone else that they've found through winter?
Well, I haven't done it for several years, but when I was doing a bunch of deciduous trees, repotting them in June, I would repot them and I put the soil in a plastic bag, turn them upside down and spray them with 10% lime sulfur solution.
Yeah.
So the roots were never in trouble. Let the tree dry and then repot them.
Yeah, exactly right. And some people, what they'll do is they'll get a big tub of lime sulfur solution and just hold it by the pot and just dunk it essentially. But you don't want to get the roots. And follow and go 30 to 31, I think, lime sulfur. 30 to 1, the ratio.
10 to 1.
10? Check the bottle. Any other tips for city locals that have been here through the ages? Including myself?
I simply cover the ground. I get a few sheets of newspaper and tear a thing so you can put it around the trunk and then spray. But the thing about lime sulfur is you've got to be really careful when you spray, because if you get any on your clothes, it will stain your clothes.
And your neighbours might not like you too much.
And don't spray it in your eyes.
The other one I'd say, and this is probably something I've picked up rather at the moment, is that you're not going to get really big gusts of wind this time of year. So it's a good opportunity to actually look at strapping your trees down if you haven't already, especially the bigger ones that are basically like a big umbrella that will fly off and be ruined in an instant. Cool. All right, Lee, I'll leave it over to you to speak.
This is my tree, it's overpotted because I've had a 2-year battle with something that chews the leaves. So it has to be sprayed every month. It lives next to another, it's a pyracantha. It lives next to another pyracantha. The leaves interlock, the other pyracantha doesn't get it. But this is just covered with the chewed leaves. But I've been working on it for a year and it's coming along really well. It will be in a smaller pot, more suitable to it. This is quite interesting. I queried, keep in mind this is my opinion, right? Don't get upset. I queried the length of this branch. It's beautifully wiggled, and it follows the line of the trunk. But would a tree really have a branch that long? And I don't do pinching, which is a Chinese style. But to me, the tree is leaning back like this. It should be tilted forward more that way, because otherwise it looks as though it's falling out of the pot backwards. And I'm sure if you turn it around, because of the growth through here, you're not going to have a good front. But this is the front, but it needs to move forward because the tree should be welcoming you in. The apex should be leaning towards you slightly. If you're talking to somebody and they're talking to you like this, you think they're not interested or they have bad breath. If they're coming this way, they're interested and they draw you in. It's the same with the trees. This one it's got major problems, and the major problems that I see are very bare branches up through here. Brilliant foliage, it'll thicken up. Good pot for the tree, but I wonder, has anybody considered, has the owner considered doing a full cascade, completely changing the angle of the tree. It also, and also I think if you did that, you'd want that as the front. And then when you're working with it, start to clip these branches in so that you're getting growth closer to the tree. Concentrate on developing this. You might even in the end cut some of this off. Because if I'm not mistaken, it has a lot of little shoots here, but I don't think this tree shoots a lot back on dead wood or old wood. So you're going to have Buckley's chance of getting foliage going down lower. So if you change the whole thing, like this, you can have a very interesting tree and develop it that way. This has beautiful structure, really curved. And all of a sudden we've got this straight arm out going the other way. They say that if you wet the wood and heat the wood, you can bend it. So you could bend it coming, but I just cut it off. Because if you take it off, the eye is following the trunk. With this here, the eye is going out that way. So this would be a definite improvement. Once you get the foliage developed, you've got the basis of a really nice tree coming up. But that is saying something completely different to what the tree is trying to tell you. If you put a tree on display, you should have a stand. It's just a de rigueur in a Japanese situation, even if we're doing Australian bonsai, that trees are displayed on a stand. It gives the tree more gravitas, and it just aids the whole display. Nice pot, nice tree. It's coming along very nicely. I think that this can be refined a bit more, so it doesn't have just the blunt cutoff look. But it's coming along. You've got a little bit of dead wood up here, which is good. Nicely potted. I don't like the stand with it because the stand draws too much attention. When you look at a bonsai, you should see the whole thing first and then the tree. If you see the pot or the stand first, it's wrong. It's out of balance because this is your most important thing. You've got the tree which blends in with the pot, and then the stand is saying, look at me, look at me. Now, this is not a formal display, so it doesn't really matter. But what matters is your education and developing your eye as to what suits. Everything should be in harmony. This is in harmony. The soft lines of this stand, the soft color of the stand come in with the tree. The size, it's not too big or not too small. And you see the whole thing is one. The pot is a supple color. It doesn't take away from the tree, it adds to the tree. And this is what you have to, I think, in an Australian native, with a pot like this, if you got even fence palings, something classic and rustic, but classy, not crappy, and put it on, you'd find you'd really be emphasizing the bush nature of the tree. This, although this is an Australian timber, it isn't doing it for me. This tree should be that way. And it's very cleverly done because one of the rules, and not a guideline, it's a rule, is that your trunk must never touch the pot. And this is about 3 millimeters above the pot. But you don't want the main part of the tree that way. You want it coming through. So it could be just not placed carefully on the stand. But if you're displaying something, even in a club meeting full of rat bags like us, display it as you would like to do it in a major show because it teaches you the display techniques. Young, but it's got some nice movement and potential. This isn't a bonsai. This is a tree in a pot. It's hellishly overpotted. There's moss all over the top of the thing. Now, moss is beautiful, but you should not have moss covering the pot because it does not allow water to get through, and you don't know how wet or dry the soil is. It's a nice trunk. You're getting moss coming up the trunk. What this moss will be doing around the trunk of the tree is helping the roots get thicker because it keeps them moist. But if you're going to have a bonsai, this is just a young baby. What you have to start doing is to bring the branches down, to start wiring them. If this is your main branch, then if you're letting it grow to develop, then it shouldn't be on a display bench. You should have it at home as you're developing it. But if you start to wire this and to get it into shape, cut this off, that's far too long. You have to condense it. This is the size of your trunk. Your tree should be about that tall. So start styling it, shaping it, getting it down, clear some of the moss away, and this can be in a pot about that big. When you overpot something, with a fig I don't think it matters that much, but a lot of other trees, you can find that there's too much moisture in it, and you can get problems with the leaves, you problems with the roots. So the ratio of the size of the tree to the size of the pot is very important. And one of the rules is, one of the guidelines, which is very flexible, mind you, is that the pot should not be deeper than the trunk is wide. So that pot should be about that thick, which is why the pot on the pyracantha is too big, but that's a growing on pot. That's trying to revitalize the health of the tree. I think you got the basis of a really nice little tree here. And my suggestion to whoever owns it would be to bring it back in November and have them cut the hell out of it. Just literally slash back through here and start to develop lower branches. And if you have any queries about that, if you look at the little fig I have over there with the picture of what it was like in December 2023 when it was this tall, it's now this tall. And yes, for months you don't have much, but what you get is what you're getting over there by cutting back. And you've got the start of something good, but you've got to work on it. I feel that there's an air layer coming up here, or grafting, because there's a branch here that upsets me, but
Yeah,
following it up,
that's a
I think
line.
it's being,
That's a line I'm trying.
Yeah, okay,
Been
that's
trying
an
to
area.
fit that
Okay,
all
so if you
together.
see this branch, which is wrong, totally wrong, but there's a reason for it, so that's okay. Because up here is the graft where he's trying to get the branch to grow to the tree. So eventually this will be cut off. I would like to see this condensed a little bit more. And also, you're losing, this should be the apex, but this is fighting for dominance. So is it this one or this one? It cannot be this because it's too far back. So you need to start bringing it in, I would say to about here. Keep in mind the most important thing about a bonsai is the trunk. When you start with bonsai, developing a good trunk is the basis of getting a good tree. The more foliage you have on the tree, the less visibility you have of the trunk, the less power the trunk has. The higher you have a tree, unless a tree like this, which has an extremely striking trunk, the higher the tree, the less emphasis is on the trunk. When you start lowering the foliage or bringing the foliage in, then all of a sudden you're zeroing attention in on the trunk. And that's what you want. When you're in bonsai, it's quick. And with a little bit of judicious pruning to make these layers a bit more prominent and a little bit more foliage pads as opposed to just the growth. And sorting out the apex is going to be a very nice tree. Also, this branch is obscuring the base of the trunk. And this base of the trunk is really lovely if you get up close. So to me, part of this branch and this branch should be removed. You just need to take off that, and you can suddenly see the trunk. And it's lovely. This is a little cutie. It's obviously been heavily pruned recently, but it's got a lot of potential on it. With this branch, to me, it's a little bit too attention-getting for a small tree, and would a branch really grow quite that way? I would say with this, it would be the feeling of the owner. If he likes it, she likes it, fine. I find it it takes away from the tree. If you take that off, you're suddenly seeing the tree. But when you have that here, and it will get lighter as this ages, it's going to be even more prominent. You always have to keep your balance on the tree. And that's a little bit out of balance. Even shorter, even up to here, it says something. Nice. Well potted, oriental stand, which suits the tree. Great movement in the trunk. nice branch placement with plenty of air between the branches. It's obviously been to the barber. For my taste, I'd like to see it a little bit shorter, but that's me. Okay, I like shorter, compact trees, but it has an elegance about it that's very nice. There you go.
Thank you, Lee. I don't know whether you realise that this club is very lucky to have Lee as a member. And when I hear her talk about trees, I know why. She, every word she says about trees is something you can take and say, now I understand a bit more. So thank you very much. We're going into the workshop part of the session, as I said before. We're going to do there's Ollie's thing. Maybe we do Ollie's thing first, because I think almost everybody's participating in that. So.
So if I'm mumbling or you don't understand anything, just chuck your hand up. I'm going to sort of run a decent pace so that we can actually get involved and actually do things, and then I can sort of go around and help wherever we can. Basically what we're doing is what you can see here. So this is a 1-year-old project. So what you've got here is really thin Trident maple saplings. These may have been a smidge thicker, but around about the same. So you can look at about a year's growth here. This is probably a 5 to 10 year project, but you have to start them at some point. So I figured it's best to do it as a group so we can all learn together. The whole idea behind it is that we've got 5 different trees that we're trying to combine together into a clump style. So if we're talking from a nature point of view, how that would happen is you have a bunch of seeds land at one spot, they all grow at once, and then they all form like a clump style. It's not like an azalea, which will naturally grow that like that. It's just a sort of freak of nature scenario that we're trying to emulate. Now, the whole premise of it is that we plant them together and we tie the trees together. And what happens is that as they grow and thicken, they fuse together and become one tree with a root system. Now, in that process, you can see here how many trunks have we got? 5. Right? This started with 9. Okay, so through that process, you're going to walk past it one day, you're going to break one off, you're going to have ones that get suffocated out, you're going to have ones that you might cut too many roots off. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to end up with a number of trunks, an odd number for those wondering. But what we're going to do is we're going to start with 10, 11 trunks, tie those together, and we might end up with 5 or 7 in the end. So if you do lose a couple through spring, don't worry, that's completely normal. Now, in terms of the actual plant, we've got Trident Maples. Now, the reason we're using these in Sydney is that it's a bit normal maples. Now, James is not here, but he looks after his maples wonderfully. The Tridents are much easier. They're very thirsty. Their roots grow prolifically. That's one season of growth, and that was like that after about 3 months. So they grow very fast, and that's good. We want to grow these aggressively. We don't want to worry about organic fertilizers. We want to put synthetic crap on them, and we want to juice them with lots of water, lots of fertilizer, and just grow them fast. So this first year, when you grow them, you're not trying to worry about styling or anything. You can put a cork between it if you want to keep them a little bit separated, but you're not worried about the branching or refining or anything like that. It's purely just get them growing, get them fusing, and get the root system going. So what we'll do is, I think I'll show you how to do it, and then afterwards I will pull this up and we can see what it looks like after a year, and we can see if there's been any mistakes we can learn from. There's going to be 2 ways we can do it tonight, so you can take your pick. I will show the main way, and if anyone's interested in doing the ground layering version, we can ask and I can show you that as well. Sound good? Yes, Ollie.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, Ollie.
Yes, Ollie.
There we go. All right, so, why are we using a colander? Drainage and
Drainage, aeration.
aeration. Roots love air, so the more aeration we can give, the better. In saying that, these are not very large vessels. If the roots start just hammering through within a month or 2, you can put them into a bigger. You can just sit this on top of a bigger pot of soil and let it grow into that as well. That's totally fine. You might also find these are quite light, so I'd be careful about wind as well. So I've got a couple that I put into very small pots at the start of the season. The roots grew out of them in a month, and I've
up-potted them into bigger ones, but because they've grown so tall, they're basically these big flagpoles that blow around in the wind and fly off the table, so I've got to strap them all down. So just something to keep in mind. Right, so what we've got is some Trident Maples from Yakandanda, which is a very cold spot on the border of New South Wales and Victoria. So fortunately, in your first autumn next year, these will be a wonderful red. Now the following year, not so much. They'll probably be a much more of an orange, yellow, and then they'll lose their leaves. So you'll get one really nice autumn colour next year. So what I'll do is I'll pass these around. I'll get everyone to grab 10, if that's okay. And then we can grab some more as well, because I think we've got plenty of numbers. So what we'll do is we'll just grab 10.
Count.
And move it.
3, 4, 5. I've probably got enough already. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
How did you do that? Bloody hell. You're good?
No, I had 2 more than I needed. Though.
Yeah, I know, but like...
Yeah, if we make a mess tonight as well, I'll just ask that everyone helps clean up as well.
Everyone else.
Next.
Grab some 10 or so. If they're tiny like this, grab a couple, get a couple more. It's fine.
It still hasn't, they still haven't flowered. I don't think they're going to. I don't think the buds are going to open.
Yeah, so just a reminder, if anyone's involved, make sure you write your name on a piece of paper somewhere floating around.
Some of them are quite small. I'll probably take extras.
Yeah, some of them will be quite small, so just grab a couple of extras.
6, 7,
There should be
8.
plenty.
Oh, I've only got 9. Oh no, there's the 10th one. Yeah, they're quite small ones. I've got. That's okay.
Oh, okay. Very thin ones.
Try and grab at least one bigger one that you can see, just so you've got.
What do you call bigger? I've got a few that I think are a bit bigger.
So that's
yeah.
3, 4, 5, 6.
Ollie, why did you say the first one will be red? And
Oh, I think, yeah, he's got plenty anyway.
Yeah, because it's not as cold in Sydney, so they've grown up in a cold winter, and after you give them a warmer winter, they won't be as red next year. Anyone need any more plants? We've got plenty. Send it back to Canberra. I do offer winter services. Alrighty.
You got one?
Well, same size, really.
There's plenty. There's still some there. There's 3 in the middle there, though.
Alrighty. So just really quickly, everyone. Did everyone bring tools?
No.
Okay, so I do have tools. I'll just ask if you can spec them as much as possible.
What tools do you need?
No, I've only
Please
got
give
one
them
that
back.
size.
If you've got root scissors like I asked everyone, then
That's the
that's great.
smallest one.
No,
I
root
don't know what I've got.
He's asking about root scissors.
I don't know. What's your root scissors? Oh, okay.
Right, so really quickly, just pay attention everyone, because this is probably an important part.
Okay.
Now, we see on a sapling,
Yeah.
see how we've got all these tiny little roots around here?
Yeah.
But we have this big taproot at the bottom.
Yeah.
Okay? This taproot is a problem, alright? We don't want that, okay? We want radial nabari. We want a shallow root system, and we only want that radial nabari, okay?
Okay.
Now, I'll also suggest that you try and keep your roots as wet as possible. So there is some water up here if you want to come dunk them really quickly as well. Yep, that's good. It might make a bit of a mess, but we're going to have to make do. So before we tie this all together, make sure you've gone through, looked at your roots, and make sure it's nice and shallow, okay?
So how short do you want to cut that taproot?
So we just want to get rid of the taproot, so we've got lots of nice radial roots like
Well,
this.
how short do you cut it though? Because it's in the middle of the short ones.
You'll have to make that call.
Oh, okay.
Look, through this process, you might cut it off too much, but Trident Maples are pretty strong, right? So once they pot up, they'll root. So, if everyone can go through, I've got one more pair of scissors I can offer to someone to use. Yep. Just get your 10 roots all cut. I can maybe give you I can give you those. Just be careful with everything. Make sure your roots are wet, guys. All right. If they dry out, you've got a chance that you'll lose the trees. Right. So make sure you stand up and give them a good wet.
You finished yours already?
No.
Oh, you're waiting
where
for
were
some
your
scissors. Okay. That's not much of a taproot. I suppose it is a bit of a
How much I
taproot.
should cut? Oh, there, is it? Okay.
Yeah, lucky I read that before. I got
So you want to keep those
Otherwise I
upper
would've lost
roots,
the
but
lead
get
up.
rid of the taproot. All right. Again,
Yeah,
like this, guys. Okay. Easy. You look lost.
No,
You good?
I can't.
Anyone need some more? Anyone need some more trees?
You alright? Yeah?
Does that have a taproot? That one's going to die. That's a bit small.
Mother was that one.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want some? Grab some? Just whatever you want to grab.
Well, that's a big taproot, isn't it? Okay. I cut most of the little ones as well as the big one. Oops.
Sorry,
Brian, just grab these ones. I think those are best.
I wouldn't cut that.
Wouldn't you?
No.
Why not? It was a big taproot.
No.
I'm going to pinch one more. I've decided. Can I have one more?
There's plenty up here. Just grab them up from up
I
here.
just don't want one more.
Yeah. Make sure you keep them nice and wet, guys. If you didn't hear me, keep your roots wet. Otherwise, they're going to die. All right.
That's a nice fat one. Sorry. Can I get one more taproot off?
Yeah, of course you can.
Just there.
Where? There?
Yeah.
There?
Yeah.
Is
Done.
this the,
Thank you.
this here? Thank you.
Just grab them. As many as you want. Right? As many as you want. Sure. Yeah, go.
I was lucky because I,
Just go
even
throw
though
them
they
in water.
still rusty, I cleaned my tools because they were rusty.
Right, guys, your roots will
And
dry
I'm
out very
putting them back
quickly.
outside,
Come wet
put
them,
them
please.
inside.
Perfect.
Oh, I think they're still wet.
If I
They're
cut
okay.
here, I lose all the fine wood.
Yeah. So let's just keep
Up
it
to there,
down.
okay.
That's good.
Oh,
Alrighty. Once you've chopped, I've got some root scissors if anyone needs. Anyone else? Good. Do you want some more? No. You can use some newspaper to keep them wet if you want. If you want to wrap them around, up
oh
to
that's
you.
a good idea.
Anyone want some wet newspaper? Just wrap around. Go for it, everyone.
Sorry.
Alrighty. So while you guys are doing that, I'll just show you what we're going to be doing next.
Okay.
We're going to be getting the wire, very simply, threading it through
Okay, that sounds
the
easy.
tube. Okay. It's going to be a little bit of a push, but
Where'd you get your tube?
my tent.
Sorry.
I
Oh,
don't
okay. Okay.
And you want to get it right through the other side. If anyone's struggling, please let me know. I'm happy to help.
How far out the other end do you want?
All the way.
Just so
That's
we've
it.
got same length on either side.
Either that side the same? Okay, a little bit
Let's
more.
go through.
No, that's it.
Oh, yeah. Got it.
Same length.
You can cut it. You don't
done
have, you don't
yours?
have to keep it that long.
No, I've got my
Your assistant self.
my assistant.
Ah.
Probably don't use mine.
Oh, it's rubbish here.
Yeah, I'll clean it up later.
Alrighty. Everyone okay? Did you wet your roots?
Yes,
Did you wet your roots? Yeah, you put them in the water? Yeah, good.
He's just making sure.
Alrighty, so just if everyone can watch
Yes.
for a second. All we're going to do, guys, is we want to try and get these all around the same sort of height, okay? And then what we're going to do is we're going to try and tie these together quite low down, as low as possible, right? Now this is where it's going to get a little bit funky, is you want to sort of wrap it over each other and push it down. And I'll explain why we have such a long amount in a second. But basically, we're going to use the pliers and we're just going to tighten that up nice and tight. You might hear a couple of cracks, that's okay. Something a bit like that. Not too bad. Not awful. Probably not my best work, but it's alright. Then, keep wrapping that. And then we can probably look, we got those blue scissors? Oh, they're okay, that's fine. And what we'll do is we'll chop these off around here, but we want to leave quite a bit, okay? Because normally when you tie the wire together, it has quite a few laps, whereas because it's got the rubber, it doesn't get that. So you sort of have to leave quite a bit dangling off, and I'll show you on the other one how I've done that. So what we're going to do is we're going to plant it up like that. That's going to hopefully fuse nicely at the bottom, and then we're just going to put it in some soil and let it plant.
Oh, mine's not far enough down.
Okay.
I thought it was.
Oh, it's not too bad. Try and get a little bit lower if you can.
I've already been squeezing it
Because
tight.
the
I've already
problem
damaged
is,
the...
just everyone pay attention for a second. If you don't put it low enough, what happens is that it's going to fuse and you're going to get inverse taper there. Okay, so we want to keep it as low as possible.
I've done damage already to one of them.
That's all right. Sorry. Put like 20 in there if you want. Yeah.
Just steal all my food. That's all right.
Oh, you know.
I didn't want it anyway. I didn't want to tighten mine up, you know.
No.
I wanted to wait for you.
Come on, there you go.
Have those pieces. That's right.
Thank you. So is that better where I got it now?
Yeah, perfect. Righty, and then everyone's going to get some soil. We're just going to bury it in the soil, not too deep, because we want to give enough space below for the roots to grow down to. So if you bury it in deep, you're going to end up with a lot of soil below. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm using it. Yeah, it won't be long.
Everyone should play as well. What's going on?
I'm just glad I read the instructions
read it.
before I left.
Yeah,
Because
you
I thought,
Good girl.
I need all this stuff, do I? Otherwise I wouldn't have had it either.
Tight, just so you can close it.
Righty, something a bit like that.
This is enough. Oh wow.
And then when you get home, give it a good water. Sound good?
So do we leave the newspaper on there or not?
No, take the newspaper off.
So is that...
It won't matter though, will it?
It'll break down, but it's,
Yeah.
I mean, you can take it off.
That's perfect.
Is that okay?
Perfect.
So I
Yeah,
have to
great.
cut this
Very
bit off though, don't I?
Yeah.
Very good, my dear.
Yeah, perfect. So maybe give it a couple goes around and then you can chop
Put all your rubbish back in here.
Yep. Perfect.
Oh, well done. No, I'm just going to chuck it now.
And then when you're ready, you can put some soil in it up here. Just try and not make a mess. There's plenty of soil. Another couple of bags.
I don't think this is a wire cutter. I got it wrong. I thought it was, but it doesn't want to cut.
I'll cut it for you.
Thank you.
No, because you're going for rubber.
Does anyone need me to cut it?
So, Ollie, do you use this soil for anything else?
Not a lot of things. I've got a couple of trees in it. They grow fine. This stuff's good. It's got lots of
Yeah,
it's got lots of river sand in it. It's from Don't cut the wire. Ah, yeah, sure.
Now, do we start putting the soil in before we put the plant in, or
Yes,
after?
yes. So put a bit of soil in first. So you can actually what you can do. Just let me help. Keep it up higher. Now don't fertilise this until the spring. There's no point. There's no leaves. It's not going to do anything. But don't let the roots dry out. So when it looks like the soil's getting dry, you can wet it, but don't. That better. All good. You probably could have put more soil there as well.
Okay, sorry. I'll just
Please,
put a little
Gracie.
bit. I'll put a little bit and then I'll give it back and I'll put my tree in. There you go, I'll come back.
All right?
Yeah, I was going to wait for everyone to sit down. Thanks, girl.
That looks like a good little whatever. I just got to put a little soil in.
Bit more
you
soil,
know?
bit more soil, and plant it there.
Oh, further up.
Yeah, so it can have, it's got
Oh,
space
okay.
to go down.
Yes, you did say that. I wasn't
right,
paying
hold
enough
it.
attention. I should have brought mine.
Yeah, hold that.
Yeah, sorry.
Let's wait for everyone to finish.
Hi, Gracie.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thanks.
I'm sneaking back so I can
Fill it up.
yeah.
Please, yeah.
It's got to be up higher apparently. Up higher.
Up higher in the pot.
Yeah, back here. Yeah, I already put mine in this lot and it was too low.
Very, very interesting.
I just need to go any further down.
No, that's fine. You probably don't need to see how you've double lapped there. You don't need to do that. Just do it once to see how you've gone 1, 2, 3.
Oh, okay.
Just like this.
Shall I do it?
Yep.
Just once.
Oh, you haven't got your thingy in yet. You might need more soil.
Yeah. How are you anyway?
Good, and yourself?
Too bad. You know, do you remember last week I was talking to you about that? I brought the Satuki, remember? Satuki. It was an azalea.
Plenty of soil as well, guys.
Yeah? No. I've met a friend of ours that had an entire plant in the garden.
Really?
Yeah. I'm going to put this in there.
Around this time, chocolate die off.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think
Yeah, that was great. Put that there for a minute.
It's good. I've got more soil.
just put in
I've
there.
got, yeah, okay. Right here.
There's plenty. There's 2 more bags.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, there's plenty.
Because they raised fine.
Oh, yeah, I'm just pinching your thing on you.
It's okay.
Because you told me I need more soil.
No more shovels.
It's the bags.
There you go. 2 more bags. You don't have to worry, you won't run out. There's 2 more bags. There you go. How's that?
When you get the cork, is there any more spins?
There.
Straight, is it?
Yeah, I've got to cut it back because I didn't do it.
What's this for? Are we supposed to miss the thing, are we? They said to bring a mister along, so I'm assuming that's what it's for.
Are they the spare trees there?
No, is that what the mister was for?
When we do the you can have that here, and you can. So you can basically once the roots get I just do that to keep it. It's not a must. Just chuck all these in here. Needing more teaching after this? No, that's it. I'll show you the roots and that what it looks like. But I just going to fill that.
Oh, yeah.
Plenty of soil, guys. There's 2 more bags as well if you need.
I think this first.
That's all right, take your time. Yep.
Where do you get the seed sucking from?
A guy down in Victoria. Basically, he was driving up bus Friday. He dropped 500 and got them off.
So he just went out and ripped them all out of the ground?
Yeah, out of the
Okay.
He gets thousands. Did you get a fire? Yeah.
I'd say I grabbed the extra ones from now because I figured 2 different sources. That's why I knew. I was like, fuck, so just chuck them all together.
So
apparently he's got these big ass trees, and it's just like these just naturally grow underneath.
Yeah.
So he just goes and throws them all out.
what you can do with this as well, if you want, is you can actually wire the whole thing. You can like use it as
Do you have to, in a year will it?
just be sage. Well, you can use that little tube. You've got quite a few.
Is that what you said the other method was?
No, that's the ground.
Yeah.
So basically, they do
Soil.
not really worried about having to blow.
Robert, I think you need more.
Okay, so you're going to get some more soil later.
Huh?
Machine aid. Machine aid. I did one.
Just
Yeah, fill it up. You pay for it. Come on, Marianne, get some more soil in there. Come on. Alright, there we go. I've definitely bought too much soil, but that's fine. Branches.
Oh, legends, what's going on? Where's the bill like? Well, you cheated, but he's not fucking 40 in there. It was, no, it's, what is it? He brought his own.
You can use just a tie between this, so you can just go in here, just to tie, tie it around really loosely, however you want. That will help it stop flying out of the pot, but yeah, up to you. There's plenty here if you want to use it.
Well, okay.
I've got some rocks that have wheels.
Oh, okay. Do I need all of them?
The other one is, if anyone wants to see this, I'm going to pull it out of the pot and repot it now.
Yep. Oh, wow. So when did you decide to put the pork in?
In the autumn, so probably a bit late. You can do it earlier.
She says she didn't do that after Easter show.
So what we're going to do first is I'm just going to chop a few of these. Marianne, can you just put some Marianne? Just quiet for a second. So what I'm going to do here first is just cut a few of these roots off the bottom to make it a bit easier to pull out. Don't have to be too gentle. Trident maples can take a bit of a beating when it comes to the roots. I know some people that almost bare root them, but I don't recommend you do that. What are we doing when we get home with our trees? Watering the
Sneaking them down the side.
Alrighty, so you can see the soil's still pretty nice. Now, Chris, would you agree that we can reuse this soil?
I would.
Yep, absolutely, I agree with you. When we're training trees like this, as long as there's no fundamental infections, it's not the worst idea to reuse your soil, especially if you use nicer stuff.
I recycle all the gravel anyhow.
Has anyone seen root rain?
For the people that watch David do the repotting, he used a root rake. This is a root hook, and I reckon these are better.
They're easy.
They're easy. You don't
So,
drag as much.
if anyone's watching closely, you can actually see there's this really dry edge. There's actually probably quite a few dead roots there because it's dried out. So just be conscious of that. It might look like it's watered on top, but if you have watered all the way around, or it's been windy, like it's been with my place. So I wanted to fuse at the bottom. Okay, so the whole idea, everyone, sorry, maybe that wasn't clear. I wanted to fuse at the bottom, and then I had trunks emulating from that. The cork in the middle is to separate them so they don't just grow like a pencil together. Yeah.
If you look at pictures of clump style, it looks like one tree with a lot of branches coming off.
You were saying you can bind them together?
Sorry. Yes. Now you can bind them together. Ben's actually doing that right now. And what that would look like is you'd actually tie them all together tight. I don't know if you've done it. Have you, Ben? Yeah. So essentially, it's actually a fast way to get a really thick trunk. Is you just put a bunch of saplings together.
I suggest if you're going to put them together, though, get some tape.
Rapier?
Yeah.
No, tape. The plastic
It's
budding tape.
Yeah.
Use that.
And
Because
you put anything on them like hormone? Or?
no, well, if you want it, but no.
Are you saying grafting tape? Like, yeah.
Duct tape is probably. Sorry. Duct tape.
No, go for the proper stuff. Buy a roll of it for a couple of dollars.
Yeah.
And it's really stretchy.
Sorry to take you a while, guys, but you just want to.
Any minute now.
Make sure you cover the roots.
So when you want to grow?
There's 1 year of growth. And they were the same as what you've done.
Now this is another repotting demo, by the way.
This is the reveal.
In an ideal world, I'd have a big tub of water I can shake this out and it would be twice as fast. But we don't quite have I want to keep the roots wet, but I don't want to make a mess as well. So
You want to spray?
yeah, you got a spray.
Yeah.
So would you? Oh. Yeah, I know. Oh.
Someone made a
He's
newsletter.
the favourite student.
You get a star. That's it.
So when we repot our deciduous trees, what roots do we cut off? Taproot? No, but at this stage, what's important to cut off? The downward growing roots. Okay, we want to keep the lateral roots to create a nabari and to create the roots radiating outward. So if we want a really shallow pot, we don't want roots growing down, right?
Like, once you get it on,
And we can actually see here, I don't know if you can see these really light roots. So it's actually had a bit of, oh, no, never mind, don't worry. It's just, it's just a thick one. It's just a thick
So is that going to go back in that same pot or?
I will, yep. I'll probably just use the soil I brought and add a bit of this as well. So eventually I'll get to the bottom where you can see where it's fused. Any questions so far?
Are you just going to repot it into that pot?
Yeah. Now these are great, but they're really expensive. They're a waste of money, to be honest. These are about $10, those are about $2. So it's fine for one plant, but you know, if you're starting with 5, it's a waste of money for a bit of plastic, right? Sorry? Yeah, that's one. Yeah, sorry, just Robert's asked the question again. This is 1 year. So what you've done tonight, that's 1 year. You can see how fast the roots grow. And you can be pretty rough at this stage as well. You can get rid of a lot of roots. We're going to see. That's going to be the exciting part, Robert.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, this might be a really bad presentation if they haven't fused.
7 1-year-old.
Sorry, what was that? No, nothing. No, there was no maintenance, no pruning, nothing. Just lots of fertilizer, lots of water.
So when you were saying synthetics, what fertilizer did you use fertilizer-wise?
I just use Osmocote, whatever the strongest stuff is. Pelleted stuff. Yeah. I find pelleted the easiest. Liquid fertilizers are really good, but they're really good for a month or two, and then you have a lazy week, and then you sort of lost already. It's just easier to do something that's much more consistent, and yeah.
That's just a slow release
See, we're starting to get down a bit more.
Did you do a batch of these?
Sorry?
If you batch of these.
Yeah. I've done them different ways.
That's what you're talking about. Yeah.
If you're bored, you can leave as well, so no pressure.
Come back to Ollie at the end of the show.
Come back and see it.
We want to see what she did.
Yeah, so I think in the demonstration before, David used a root hook. Root rake. This is a root hook. I prefer this, just what I've always used. The other one might be better. Everyone's got their preferences, everyone's got their styles. I find it's easier to get through big and thick. Now, really quickly, so if you see in here, see how we've got these sort of thicker roots growing, like this one here? That's actually not beneficial to the tree. We don't want that too much. Now we don't want to cut it all the way back because that might be the bari. But what we want to do is we want to find this, and we want to find an internode where there's roots still growing from it. Cut the downward growing ones, and sort of just cut back the thick ones and leave the big mat like this. Because that's where all the nutrients get pulled up through.
Have you hooked your hand yet?
No, it's not that sharp. Not after what my dad did. Alright. So, if anyone wants to come around and see what it looks like up close, I'm probably not going to remove. I think it needs another year of fusing. I think I might loosen it off just a smidge, not by much, just so it doesn't get too ugly around the bottom. But we can see it's just sort of starting to fuse, squashing it. Yeah. No, so it's gonna go from here. So it's gonna clump here, and then everything else. So if you want to you sort of see it's starting to fuse.
Yeah. You worry about
Yeah, a little bit. That's why I might loosen it off.
Is that a year old?
That's 1 year. Yeah. So 1 year of roots. As I said, see how thin these are? That's a year of growth with a bunch of roots.
I'll look at the other side for you.
I may do just to do a little bit of control, but really, if it's growing long, it's growing thicker. If it's growing thicker, it's fusing. Yeah, one thing I'd be conscious of at this stage, and I probably wasn't too good with it, is be mindful of these lower buds, because these might be the future buds. It's because I was using wide, so like I sort of pull them back, and I didn't want the wide right on the I was just trying something else. So we can see it's pretty good. I might actually remove a few more roots. These are pretty, as I said, these are pretty hardy trees. The other thing as well is we'll look down from the top and see how I can see this one here is coming like across everything. It's really ugly and it's going to get worse. So actually I want to I might seem like counterintuitive. So I can see this root here. Yeah, so that's good. These roots are going to grow from there, so that's fine. Okay. And you're going to get that. We're going to get that radial devouring for a long time. We don't want those battered overlapping. Because once they start, hops will get rid of them. They do it now. So see this root here? Got that?
I think 3 years.
So we've still got roots coming from it. So it's still going to be fine.
You're giving it a severe cutting back.
Yeah,
but also
these trees are very, very hard. Keep it wet.
That's 2/3. Oh wow.
3/4.
Yeah.
Probably go half off.
Okay.
But for now, I'll just do that. I might bring next video. I might bring some of the other ones I've done to see how they've gone as well.
It's good soil, isn't it?
They're hardy.
How much did you give myself?
Anyway, that's the demonstration. If you have any questions, feel free to sing out.
Have you got any ideas yet in terms of future time? Like, you're going to keep them all the same sort of height?
So generally, it's sort of mimicking a forest style, right, where you typically have 1 or 2 dominant trees within that. You want to let one trunk grow a bit more so it has that dominance. But at the moment, like if you think about it, if the future trunks are 3 times the thickness of this, it really means that any of these trunks could be the dominant one eventually. It just sort of depends on how they grow over time.
That's right.
You make that decision as time goes on.
Thank you.
All right. Hope you have fun, guys.
Thanks, all.
Yeah, if you can sign the book and preferably pay me. I've got pay. Oh, okay. Right. Perfect. Oh, you've been money there.
But there were a few people that said pages correctly, so there's, I guess, for that's the list.
Oh, work it out. Yeah, I'll just reuse this. No, this is Scoria, Sealite, and Pumpkin. She asked me.
I was just really concerned.
I think so, yeah, man.
But anyway, but yeah, and then I've got some few little stuff going. Well, and I and there are ants running in now.
But it looks like same as I wanted.
One long time ago, sunny cascade, I killed it. But yeah, it took me about a month to realise I killed it. Still watering it, looking after it, and slowly went brown and died. I bought a couple from two. I just bought a couple of little ones. What do you want to do? It does smell.
There isn't actually. Open the door.